Major League legend Pete Rose. All-time hits leader in Major League Baseball. He played in more games than anyone who has ever played the game. He has more singles than anyone who ever played the game as well. Charlie Hustle, brash, shaggy hair, this big Popeye forearms that went along with us. A baseball player's baseball player as a player. But then it became complicated in his time as a manager. Ultimately, Pete Rose banned from baseball, which makes him ineligible for the Baseball Hall of Fame. And it's, like one of the all-time sports talk radio debates. We've never really gone down that road. There are people who are adamant that he should be in the Hall of Fame. There are people who are adamant that he should not be in the Hall of Fame. There are people who don't really care about the argument one way or the other. They say, what difference does it make? Career .303 batting average with 4,256 hits, 1,300-plus runs batted in, had a winning record as a manager. He is the most, without his gambling on baseball, on his team, he is the most slam dunk Hall of Famer maybe ever. But there is that thing. And that thing has kept him out. Borky, I thought you had a really good tweet last night.
Yeah, halls of fame are museums. And they are museums that tell the storied history of a sport. But the thing about museums is they don't just tell great stories. I mean, we have a civil rights museum here in Jackson. And if you go, it's a pretty moving thing. But not every story in that museum is a good one. The World War II Museum, yes, there's a lot of triumph and victory in that, but there's also tragedy and loss of life because that's the story of World War II. Can you tell the story of baseball without Pete Rose?
So what if it's a compromise of sorts? What if he is not enshrined into the Hall of Fame, but there is some sort of a display that shows his accomplishments, but very publicly recognizes that he is ineligible for the Hall of Fame because of his gambling on baseball, so that you're telling the story without actually honoring him as a member of the Hall of Fame?
Different exhibits, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the College Football Hall of Fame has a tailgating section. That's not the same thing as, Archie Manning's display.
Yeah.
Those are two very different things in different locations in the building for good reason.
In 1989, which was Pete Rose's last year as a manager and 3 years after retiring as a player, he was penalized with permanent ineligibility from baseball amidst accusations that he gambled on baseball games while he played for and managed the Reds. The charges of wrongdoing included claims that he bet on his own team. In 1991, the Baseball Hall of Fame voted to ban those who are on the permanently ineligible list from induction after previously excluding such players by an informal agreement. After years of public denial, Pete Rose finally in 2004 admitted that, yes, he bet on baseball and he bet on the Reds. It has remained a contentious issue for years and years and years. Rose is the first person to die while still ineligible since William D. Cox in 1989. 17-time All-Star, 3-time World Series champion. He was the National League MVP in 1973. World Series MVP in 1975, Rookie of the Year in 63, won 2 Gold Glove Awards. He won the Silver Slugger in 1981, the Roberto Clemente Award in 1976. 3 times he led the National League in batting average. He's in the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame. He is on the Major League Baseball All-Century team, and his number 14 has been retired by the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, it is an incredible list of accomplishments.
I like the way Jeff put it on the text line. The lifetime ban is now satisfied. Let him in.
Hmm. Derek in Greenwood says he's paid his debts. Let him in. Amanda says you can have the Annex of Shame. Dwayne asks about a Hall of Shame as well. Somebody says it would depend on whether or not he bet against his team. Except for the fact that every Major League Baseball clubhouse, forever and ever, amen, has signage that makes it abundantly clear. The cardinal sin is betting on baseball. You cannot do it. Period. There is no ambiguity. There is no gray area. It's just you can't do it. Pete Rose claims that he always bet on the Reds to win. I don't know that there's any way to prove that.
Borky's take about Baseball Hall of Fame as a museum is correct. And the two most important stats in baseball, hits and home runs, the all-time hit leader and the all-time home run leader, are not in the Hall of Fame. Explain it. The story of baseball includes Pete Rose, multiple-time world champion, the all-time hit leader, Charlie Hustle. He was the guy that for years, coaches pointed to and said, this is the guy you want to play like. You want to play like Pete Rose. Give everything every minute of the day. I just don't understand why he's not in the Hall of Fame. I've never been in favor of it. I've always thought he belonged. And I do think that now MLB will let him in, and it'll be a sham because he won't be there to have that moment.
It says, I can't remember if they had any Pete Rose items in the Hall of Fame or not. It said there are items of non-Hall of Famers in Cooperstown, including Kurt Schilling's sock, the bloody sock, and Billy Hamilton's shoes.
I'm sure Pete Rose's, the ball that he hit to break Ty Cobb's record is in the Hall of Fame somewhere. It's got to be.
I've told this story before. My best friend in life, his name is Joe Jackson, and he's a direct descendant of Shoeless Joe. And they actually have a Shoeless Joe Hall of Fame next to the minor league park in downtown Greenville, but the Hall of Fame all the time calls them seeking items that they have, and they always say no. You're getting nothing of his until you let him in, and that's final. So I wonder if Rose's people have done the same thing there.
I've brought this up before, but if you ever want to see Pete Rose after baseball, there's a great video on YouTube of him talking hitting with Alex Rodriguez and Frank Thomas, and I cannot give it a higher recommendation of him just for about 5 minutes talking about hitting, and it is Baseball 101. It is great.
Yeah. It's the greatest to ever do it.
Yeah.
And now, by the way, I know there's a difference. The Cincinnati Reds have a sports book inside of their stadium.
They do.
Brad Bohannon knows all about it.
He does.
But players can't bet.
No, but doesn't that start creeping into
there.
yeah?